Well, just letting it roll here.
All right,
Pretending
on?
that it's working. Look at that. Okay, I think that
All
we
right.
are underway. I don't see any big signs saying this isn't working. So, how are you doing there, Aric Leavitt?
Howdy.
This is the short version of In the Weeds.
Howdy.
Bluegrass Legislation Lord with Aric Leavitt.
Howdy, Daniel. Howdy, all you out there. I just wanted to expand a little bit on what I was talking about at the last session. I mentioned about kids in bluegrass. Specifically, I talked a little bit about David, who was 9 years old when he started playing with me. Age 9 through 13 for 4 years. We did the circuit, managed to get on TV a couple times. The first time, I'll never forget the first day we played, the day that he wouldn't take no for an answer, insisted on coming along with me. Even after I said, you only know 2 chords on the guitar, I mean, how do you think you're gonna, well, and then he took to it naturally, and we were playing together like he'd been doing it since day one. You should have seen the people at that bakery in Torrance crowd our cases and put money in. It was phenomenal. Having David with me was like being a monkey grinder and having a monkey. I mean, it was, I don't know if the analogy's good or not, but we were
Very politically incorrect, you know. Peter's not going to like it either.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. You got to have a sense of humor.
But I get you. Our audience will love it.
Together we were really a draw, and then we did a lot of playing at Redondo Beach Pier, made probably thousands of dollars.
Now he's in college with the money, right?
What?
Now he went to college with the money, right?
I think he he did do some college and got very advanced on the guitar in his upper teen years and 20s. Now he's in his early 30s. Okay, I also want to mention a real gifted young man that I was friends with him and his family. He was 8 years old at the time.
His name was Helicopter Joe.
Helicopter Joe. Yeah, there's a copter
There he
up
goes.
there.
Anyway,
Yeah, okay.
motorcycle Mike.
Oh yeah, this is their playground too, right?
That's right. Yeah, we're good now. Tell us about it.
Okay,
What's
the
his name?
kid's name was Chris Thiele. And for those of you who are connoisseurs of bluegrass, you know that Chris Thiele is generally regarded today as probably anywhere between the second and first top mandolin player to walk this planet. Other than probably Bill Monroe and David Grisman. Well, Chris Thiele, I don't know if you can even compare. He ranks right along with them. When Chris was 8 years old, he and I used to jam at bluegrass festivals down here in Southern California. I knew his parents, wonderful people, and Chris was just wonderful to jam with. And you just knew that he was going to really make it. Now, he did make it. He's the mandolin player in Nickel Creek, which is a very innovative string band. And he has some kind of a group called the Punch Brothers, and done a lot of recording. And I'll never forget, up in Grass Valley, Chris came to, with his family, came to a Grass Valley. He was still a kid. And David Grisman was about as far from me as you are from me right now, maybe a few feet away, standing. And David Grisman heard this kid play, and David said, "This kid, oh, he's unbelievable. He's fantastic." You knew again. If David Grisman liked him, you knew that this kid really had a future. There have been quite a few kids like that in bluegrass. I'd like to mention one more story. Um, any of you remember a family band out of Nashville called the Stoneman Family? Well, the Stoneman family, otherwise known as the Stonemans, um, the senior member of the Stoneman family was known as Pop Stoneman, and he was an auto harp player. And when he was younger, and he had all these kids that eventually became the Stoneman family. Um, Donna and Ronnie Stoneman, the whole bunch of them. Well, when they were kids, Pop had all these instruments, banjos and guitars, and you name it, you have it. And he told those kids, now you're not to touch these instruments now. And Pop could get pretty crusty. And I remember when I had Pop autograph some albums for me at a concert they did out here in California. And he warned those kids, you know what's good for you, you're not going to touch these instruments when I'm not around. You don't lay a hand on them. Well, you know what he was doing? And this story was passed down to me. He wanted them to play them, but he used reverse psychology because he knew that they were gonna do it when he wasn't looking, when he wasn't in the house, when he wasn't in the room, and it worked. It worked. They got hold of those instruments, and they learned those instruments, and they played. Well, you know, he was supporting them and he was all for them, but initially it was, you're not to go near those instruments. These are instruments, these aren't toys. And it worked. They became the legendary Stoneman family. One more individual that I haven't acknowledged yet that I want to acknowledge in this interview. No, I didn't know him when he was a kid. Jay Quessenberry. Otherwise known as Jake. To everyone, he was known as Jake, but his name was Jay Quessenberry. I always called him Jay. And Jay and I actually formed a band, a temporary band that we played the third year of the Grass Valley Bluegrass Festival. And I'd just gotten over a bout with arthritis. I was a young man of my late 20s at the time. Jay Quessenberry was one of the founders of the California Bluegrass Association. He's from Kentucky. He's no longer with us, but I have to just put in a word or two about Jay. Jay was such a warm personality. He always encouraged everybody that he came in contact with. Something about Jay that you knew you weren't going to get looked down upon. Nobody did, because he wasn't that kind of person. Jay, there was never anything negative that Jay would ever have to say about anybody. If it wasn't something positive, he wouldn't say it. And he knew how to encourage. He knew how to be all inclusive, to include everybody he knew into everything, that whatever he was involved with, whatever there was around, a discussion, a workshop at a festival, there was, if he was even in the middle of a workshop and you were just approaching or walking by, hey, come on over here. You know about what this is. You know about what we're talking about. What's your take on this or that? Well, that was Jay. And the California Bluegrass Association, which has put on now, I think 40, this year would be the 42nd annual Bluegrass Festival in Grass Valley, California. That's very largely the brainchild of Jay Quessenberry, John Murphy, who I mentioned before, but we got to throw Jay in there too, because he was quite a guy, and somebody that we'll always remember and miss. So with that, This is Mother's Day. Should I do a little tribute to motherhood here?
Yes.
Then I might take it into a little fireball mail.
I think that's best.
Alrighty then. Always be kind to Mother. She is a friend to the end. Always be kind to Mother. She is a friend to the end. Recorded originally by Carl Story and his Rambling Mountaineers. Fireball mail. Fireball mail.
Thank you very much. See you next time.